And I think, we'll be able to get the common goal to lower these insurances.
So right now, we're finally starting to see the effects, and the insurance companies are finally starting able to act on,
hey, wait a second, time out. Let me shop this. And then all of a sudden, now everybody's, getting a price reduction. 4 years ago, you never thought about this because you were working in the hustle and the grind, the girlfriend. Now that you're engaged and you're looking for a house, it's like, wow. So I'm here with Humberto Torres from Insurance Nation, that he has some fun facts. That one of my goals this year has been to help the elderly be able to afford houses, and help the young that are getting married. You're one that's going through that, to be able to have a house that you can afford. So insurance is a big key, and Humberto is pretty involved in that, since he's also seeing how hard it is to own a house, paying insurance and taxes. And we have some fun facts that he's going to share with us, and some good news that the industry is coming. Hopefully, no lower insurances. That's what everybody wants here.
Okay. No, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me on, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about not just the change in the industry, but what that means for the Floridian and how it's going to be able to benefit everyone who's residing here in the state of Florida. So it's some really good things coming our way.
I think it's important that you're young, you're energetic, you're very intelligent. People that get behind this initiative, and I think we'll be able to get the common goal to lower these insurances. What do you see the state of property insurance market right now?
So right now we are in what the industry refers to as a soft market. This is categorized by capacity in the market to be able to place risks due to carriers opening their underwriting, and more options for the consumers, as well as a reduction in premiums. So it's the same thing that we've seen today, and especially back in the years 2023, 2022, when we came into probably what was the hardest market in the history of the industry of insurance, especially down here in South Florida, is that we're finally starting to see the effect of some of the rates going back down to what they were before, and the idea is to hopefully have it reversed all the way back.
That was before they took the trial lawyers out of the picture.
Correct. The main driving factor for what we're seeing right now in the market is the passing of Senate Bill 2A, which was passed back in 2022. And it's funny because it was passed back in 2022, but usually it takes about a year for us to start seeing the effect of any bill passed up there in Tallahassee for it to trickle down to the consumer level. So right now, we're finally starting to see the effects, and the insurance companies are finally starting able to act on how they're being affected financially at the end of the year when it comes to their profit and loss, and all these things that come into play in this picture.
Because at one point, once they passed that, citizens had lowered the policy. It was great sign of good faith, but then they raised it, and that's what I didn't understand. Is like, wait a second, we just went through this legislation, taking the trial lawyers out of the pictures, bringing this thing. We did everything that they wanted, and we're supposed to get better premiums.
That's part of that famous letter a lot of people get. They get that famous depopulation letter, as citizens.
That's a scary letter. Like, hey, we're citizens, and we're no longer insuring you.
Yeah, and they're placing you in a carrier. You may or may never have heard of that carrier before, and most of the times it might be a new carrier that's come into play in the state of Florida. And that's one of the things that, as a property insurer, if you're coming to now work in the state of Florida, you are required to participate in what is that takeout program. So we're seeing it more so on the citizen side, is to be able to depopulate their books, to be able to, because right now they're over leveraged. They have too many policy holders for what the program was intended to originally be.
And that's why they're spreading it out. I mean, now we're fortunate that we have more carriers. I think we were speaking earlier. You said there's 14 new carriers. 15.
They passed the bill. 15 new carriers have come into the state of Florida, and then by year end, that number is going to be closer to 17. There's 2 carriers that are now coming in as well. And the reason why these carriers are able to come into the market and are willing to and be able to put their money where their mouth is, like I like to say, is that the fact that when prior to the reform in Florida, to give you an idea, there was about 15% of property insurance claims nationwide came from Florida, but 70% of claims that had a lawyer attached to it or that were litigious claims came from the state of Florida. So Florida accounted for 50% of nationwide claims, but 70% of litigation nationwide. And what that bill passed, what it did is that it eliminated something called AOB, assignment of benefit. So in the event, I'll give you a real world example. If someone had a water damage claim for their home, and
that was a typical lawsuit, was the water damage.
Water damage claim, correct, sir. It was, let's say, $30,000. were to win, they will win the lawsuit against the insurance company. Mr. Insurance Company will pay them the $30,000, but then their lawyer, who was representing them legally, will come and say, okay, their claim was $30,000, but my legal fees
$50,000.
About $50,000. So a claim that turned from 30
now is 80.
Is now 80, which you can imagine. When it comes to the insurance companies and how they're able to be actuarially sound, they have a lot. People are a lot smarter than all of us creating these complex algorithms. Technology is playing a big piece. Artificial intelligence playing a big piece in what it is today. They can forecast for a lot, but it's very hard to forecast for the human being.
Right.
It's very hard to forecast for the human being.
So going back to these 15 carriers in the state of Florida, what does that mean for the consumer?
So what this means for the consumer is that essentially with the marketing softening and more insurers coming into the state, this is the perfect time for the consumer to be able to remarket their policy. Take into consideration the exclusions, the terms and conditions, the coverages they have in their current policy, and take a look at what the competition now has to offer. Because at the end of the day, with all these companies coming into the private market, and what it's going to create is going to create somewhat of a pricing war. So it's going to make the industry or in the market a lot more healthier, because it's going to be more sustainable due to the fact that there's going to be more competition between all the carriers. Since, like how we did say, since the reform passed in 2022, 15 new carriers have come in. By the end of the year, it's looking to be closer to 17 new carriers, and we know the competitive landscape in any industry is always good. It's never good to be in a monopolized industry.
So it'd be good to recheck your policy, because you're going to save money. I mean, you could save money.
We're already seeing the rates. the rates have dropped dramatically on the commercial side, on the commercial property side. We're already seeing it today. That it's honestly great news for all those who are living in their associations, condo associations, homeowner associations. When it comes to the commercial property side, business owners that own their owner-operators that own their building, that own their office, really good news on that side. When it comes to the residential side, we still have not seen that reduction in of prices of premiums that we're expected to see in general through the whole entire state of Florida, mainly due to the fact of most insurance companies are coming in. They have access to reinsurance, which reinsurance is just insurance for insurance companies. They have access to more reinsurance and more affordable rates than what they were able to buy it before. This reinsurance is what's funding their operational basis and allowing them, along with the bill that was passed, we combine both of those two things together. It's forecasting now that by the end of 2025, going into 2026, the residential property market is going to hit what is going to become a very, very soft market. It's going to allow for these premiums, these forecasted drop in premiums, for us to be able to see it on the consumer level.
To be able to drop.
Correct, sir.
Well, one thing that because I know you're an expert in commercial and residential, one thing that commercial does, it allows you to cap your policy, and I think that's important. I think we should allow residential, like if I own my house now and I'm retired and my house is paid for and my house is worth $500,000, and and instead of not going without insurance because I can't afford it, let me cap it. Let me insure for $250,000. So if hurricane does happen, at least I don't lose everything. I gain something. I do that a lot with my commercial policies. I just did it with my boat, where you cap and you do a certain risk. I think banks wouldn't have a problem with that as long as you
are securing their loan.
They're securing the loan, because you got to think. They're lending you the money. They're going to also want you to cover the loan. And at the end of the day, and the purpose of doing these aggregated values or things with residential is because you'll be able to get lower policies, and the risk is calculated, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. What's it costing? Okay, instead of a $8,000 policy, let me go with a $4,000 policy. So you kind of pick your poison. Pick your poison. Pick your poison.
On the commercial, I remember with these CAT modeling reports. What they do is they give you based off of a bucket of years. 500, 300, 200 years. It gives you something called the maximum aggregate limit of loss. So these CAT modeling reports, they tell if a Category 5 hurricane were to pass, what is the chance of loss within a 500-year time span?
They calculate
everything getting destroyed. And let's just say on the commercial side, we know like a building might be worth, let's just say $20 million to insure it for AOP X wind, so that's fire and liability essentially. But the wind side, you may be able to get away with insuring instead of for $20 million, insure it for $8 million, or the value of the loan.
Right.
All of a sudden on the commercial side,
but they allow that in commercial. They don't do that in residential.
But on commercial property, that's not it's not residential. It's that people are not living. So let's just say a condo building, you would not be able to do that because of the fact that people are living there, and that's something that in regulation on the insurance side, when it comes to the Office of Insurance Regulation, also on the carrier side, that's a product that has not been passed, and they don't forecast it. They don't forecast to be able to see it.
So we have to change the law, you're saying, to do this?
I say it's really we're always looking for the benefit of the consumer.
100%.
Always looking for the benefit of the consumer, for the benefit of Floridian, for the person to be able to live here long term, for the person to be able to set their roots here and not have to worry that in 20, 30 years, or we're getting to a point that your children, you want to give your house to your children. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
The house is no longer a gift.
Right.
And so
we were talking about this because it's funny. Humberto just got engaged, and I'm like, hey, tell your dad to give you a house. But it's a debt because you still have to pay your taxes and you still have to pay your insurance. Yeah. So it's incredible. So it is so hard to find a house that you can afford. It's nuts. It's like, wow, it's unbelievable. We have to change this. We have to make it right. Yeah. We need affordability for the young and for the elderly.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm telling you that we are, when it comes the way the outlook for the consumer now coming into 2026, it's looking very, very positive. It's going to be very, very bright because of the facts and the information I've been able to, and some of the cool facts I've been able to give you so far up to this point is that we are looking at on the residential side, the cost of insurance is going to either go down or is going to maintain itself for a little bit of 2026. But when it comes to the market in and of itself, the fact of the bill being passed, as well as cost of reinsurance going down, and forecasted interest rates, is going to become more affordable for the Floridian.
Hopefully, and God willing, we don't get hit with a hurricane, because that changes the whole picture.
It changes the whole picture.
That's the problem with that. Hopefully, because I've seen them come in, and then the hurricane comes, and then they go out, and then they don't come back in, and this is like a game. I think
they go 3-4 years with having a good lot. The companies go 3 to 4 years with having a decent loss ratio, keeping 4, 5, 6 cents on the dollar of whatever they're bringing in, and then they'll have 1 year that their loss ratio spikes because it's catastrophic.
Yeah, but they should sign a contract with the state. If you're coming in, you got to go through the good and the bad. At the end of the day, they end up making money. I mean, they wouldn't be in the business. They wouldn't be in the business. So
that's a good point that you make there, because that's another point that I also wanted to address, is that with all the companies go in and they come out all the time. Companies come in, then they go into insolvency, and all their policyholders are left holding the bag. They're left holding the bag, and it's like, what do we do now? So with all these new insurers coming into the market, take into consideration there are certain things that we look at as brokers, as agents, is you want to take a look at the financial backing of the company. Right. What is their rating?
It's like the A rating, the B rating.
Correct. Are they coming in to stay, or are they dipping their toe in the water? Are they jumping in, or are they dipping their toe?
But you know what's sad, Humberto? The problem with that is that people look at that, but they end up biting the bullet because of the price. And it'll be,
price is king.
But that's the problem. Price is king. So that's where I see that it's like if you have a $6,000 policy with an A rating, and then you have a $4,000 with the C rating, 90% of people are going to pick the $4,000 one and gamble it, because they have no choice, because they can't afford the difference. And I mean, that's a poor excuse, because it's such a little $2,000. But if you have like a $8,000 policy and a 4, where it's half the price, people go with the C rating. People will go with the C rating. And some people even with $2,000 will do that, because some people are living now day to day. Florida's becoming unaffordable. I mean, we have a great state, we have great weather, great government, but it's becoming unaffordable. It's getting hard. I see it getting very, very hard.
It is. But it's again, to harp on that and to give you the other side, it's going to be, the good news is, again, that 2026 is going to be a significantly better year when it comes to the insurance market for the residential side. The commercial side, we're already seeing it. We're seeing it We're seeing it on a day-to-day basis that we're looking at policies they're dropping down. Renewals are coming in, and they're coming in 20-30% less.
I'm happy for that, man, and I'm happy that you're a spokesman, because I know you go to a lot of conventions. You're out there and you're advocating for the Florida consumer. I mean, you're also a Florida consumer. You're seeing that, so you're actually advocating for yourself and your wife to be. So I'm really happy that you're out there for us, advocating, because you're another me out there.
It's and things I don't understand. It's absolutely insane. Is that what you see in the news or any post, you'll see actually complete adverse, a complete opposite of what I'm telling you today. Oh, the insurance rates are still going up, but that couldn't be more untrue. That's definitely.
Well, people don't know, because you gave a good thing here, saying, hey, go back this year, check your policies, because we have 50 new carriers. A lot of people don't know about that, and then their old carriers raising the rates while they can. Hey, wait a second, time out. Let me shop this, and then all of a sudden now everybody's getting a price reduction.
Yeah, price reduction. That's the whole entire thing.
That's good. I'm glad our viewers are able to see that and benefit from that, because I didn't know that there were 15 policies. I thought there were 2. I really thought there were 2, because I read a lot, and I heard about 2 new policies coming. And I think one I was reading that's like a wire line, which is not good when they're wire lines.
And they also have exchanges, a lot of reciprocal exchanges coming in. That it's that model I've always interested me a good bit, because the reciprocal exchanges that come in, that they're operating as companies, as insurers here in the state, is that every policy holder is technically a partial owner of the company.
Yes.
They pull in all the premiums to be able to insure everyone. So that's also a very common model that we're seeing.
But how do you see those models? I mean, because would you feel safe owning a policy like that you own? I mean, is you get hit by a hurricane, are they going to have the money to repair your house, or are they going to be broke?
That's where reinsurance comes in. That's where the cost of reinsurance comes in as well. So that's before. I don't have the exact number for you, but when it comes to reinsurance right now, the companies, the carriers, the insurers coming into the state, the reinsurance that they will buy is at a discount rate compared to 3-4 years ago.
Really?
So the cheaper the cost of reinsurance, the more capital, or the more easily the company could operate in the state, and the lower they could lower the rates, with a combination of being able to forecast litigation more closely and more correctly, to be able to keep more sense of the dollar, to continue lowering rates, because when you can't become too profitable. That's regulated also in the state of Florida. If you're a carrier and you're making too much money, then the state automatically forces you to lower your rates, take a rate reduction.
That's great. That's what I was going to say.
If you're losing money, the same thing adversely. If you're losing a lot of money, then the state will approve you for a rate increase. It's the same thing both ways. So if you're making a lot of money, you have to lower rates. Losing money, you have to raise rates.
Right. I don't like the raising rates.
No one likes that.
But it's interesting that you bring up those co-ops, because those co-ops also, in the Keys, they have a co-op electric, that your electric bill, you're part owner of the electricity, and I find it, with my experience, that it's a lot cheaper than electricity otherwise. But the thing is, what has not been tested with these co-ops now that they're new here is, and hopefully they don't have to be tested, that a hurricane comes and
response to catastrophe.
Yes. But it's interesting how that's great to know. 15 new carriers. Hopefully that creates a lot of competition, and people should shop their policies. All the other agents are going to hate you, but you're an honest guy. So Insurance Nation, call Humberto. Because at the end of the day, it's like, oh man, this guy just, But when you shop it, the prices will come down because of the competition.
100%.
But I want to thank you for being on this show, and when you get good news, just give me a call. I would love to have you back. I know you do a lot of conventions, and we're going to have some cool stuff with this property tax thing that I'm taking that initiative in the state. Right. Hopefully the state gets it right and starts working on eliminating for everybody. It can be done, and we can do it through a 5-year phase. And if we bring the policies down, now we can have affordable housing for the elderly and for people that are getting married like yourself.
Incredible. That's something we're all very majority of Floridians, if I don't want to say 100%, are in favor of that.
Right.
But
you know what's funny? 4 years ago, you never thought about this because you were working in the hustle and the grind, the girlfriend. Now that you're engaged and you're looking for a house, it's like wow, reality. You know, it's like what you know. And now you're more into this insurance, your stuff, because it's hurting your wallet now.
100%.
You see how
100%.
you're laughing because it's true, right?
Yeah, 100% it's true.
Good. But hopefully more young people get involved with this, and it's part of this, you know, generation that can make a difference. We can make a difference.
That's the idea. You have to speak out, right? That's what you're saying. If you don't speak, they won't hear you.
Exactly. And now it's so easy with social media, podcasts, YouTube, Instagram. You know, it just you can get the truth out.
100%.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.